The household cavalry has two roles. 250 horses and men serve the Queen as her ceremonial bodyguard. At the same time, the other half of the regiment is ready to go to war. In this final episode of the Queen's Cavalry, as the ceremonial season draws to a close, Knightsbridge finds itself on high alert.
The indication is that these are suicide bombers, and the instigators of this are Al-Qaeda.
The regiment remembers fallen comrades from the Second World War. And finally, the 12 new recruits who have spent 4 months in the riding school pass out in front of their parents.
You consider that he's not even 18 yet.
Return! Swords!
Knightsbridge Barracks, late in the ceremonial season. It's early morning band practice, but today there's a difference. 8 young horses are being introduced to the joys of military music.
Because the last thing you want to do is put them on a parade with a band, and then the band pipe up, and then suddenly you've got horses everywhere.
It's vital to test the temperament of all newcomers to the regiment. After all, they face at least 15 years in the public eye. The other newcomers about to enter the riding school are the 12 trainee troopers, finally learning to ride in ceremonial uniform. Today, they've all been issued with their cumbersome thigh-length leather cavalry jackboots.
Luckily, I've got a pair that fit really nicely.
I like the fact that it's getting more and more like the actual job, what we're supposed to be doing, rather than just riding boots and combat jackets.
Get your own Skybar. You've really got to hang on to your equipment around here.
But not everyone's happy. Trooper Liam Wakefield seems to be losing his enthusiasm for the job.
I do want to transfer, because career-wise, there's no career with horses for me that I feel that I'd be able to do. I don't see that as a career for me. So hopefully I'll transfer to RAF.
But for the time being, he's stuck with Eliza. It's hardly surprising Wakefield is feeling the pressure. Riding school is one of the hardest courses in the British Army. 15 weeks ago, most of this training ride had never been near a horse before. This school of hard knocks has seen every man fall off on average 11 times.
Another one bites the dust.
Good roll. Like that.
Right, big trot.
Since they started, each man has shoveled more than 3 tons of manure. Spent a minimum of 20 hours a week just cleaning kit. They've had to learn the tricky art of marching upstairs and down. Not to mention mastering the cavalry waddle, walking in jackboots. The ride has suffered over 150 inspections.
It's like you haven't even touched it.
What's this?
Eh? Did you miss the kit cleaning lecture?
I'm not happy with this. This is not good at all. Tomorrow morning after regimental drills, let's have them back out and let's see them again.
But at least they've had the horses to keep up morale.
He's a good horse. Thank you.
Smile.
Yeah, good boy.
These equine veterans have always been one step ahead of their novice charges.
Ride, halt!
This is the final phase of their training, where each day they learn to ride with a new item of state kit. Today, Lee Golder will gently torture them with the finer points of ceremonial sword drill.
Now this position for you will last about 10 seconds. Right arm up, lock it out.
They'll need strong right arms. On ceremonial duty, they're expected to hold their swords for up to 4 hours.
Position 3. Slowly towards the front. So the sword blade is pointing towards the ground. Keep the elbow locked out, Baker. You big wetty. After 10 seconds, you'll start to do this. Corporal, corporal, my arm, and it will start to fade. The harder you work, the less we do it. Right arms up then, locked out at the elbow. Come on, Wakefield, you're flagging already, look. Wait for it. Recover! Tots! Kiss the hilts of the sword.
In only a week, they'll be graduating in front of their parents. It's not only a big week for the novices. Soon, thousands of World War II veterans will descend on London for National Commemoration Day, the last major parade of the season. During the Second World War, the Household Cavalry fought their way through the desert, Italy, and Europe. They were the lead units during the advance through Normandy just after D-Day. The regiment's own advance can clearly be traced just by following the sites of cemeteries where troopers are buried. 61 years on, almost to the day, young members of the regiment have returned to Normandy with a cavalry veteran, Johnny Seyfried, then a 20-year-old lieutenant in charge of a troop of armoured cars.
I'd like to ask Johnny to lay this wreath in remembrance not only of all the household cavalrymen that died during the Second World War, but for all those who died in and around this area. Johnny.
For Johnny, these are not just anonymous headstones. They are men he knew and fought alongside. He finds the grave of one of his comrades.
I remember Corporal Allenby Young. He had 60 years ago. It was a typical corporal horse.
One of today's corporals of horse is Richard Bentley, a senior vehicle commander in the Armoured Regiment. He's seen active service himself.
It's probably quite emotional for him actually to come back and see people that he actually does know. It's quite poignant really to look at it and see how many young men did lay down their lives. I mean, just look at this lad here, the Lincolnshire Regiment. 16th of August, he's just 18-year-old. It just puts life into perspective, I suppose. Just gives you time to stand and think and reflect on how lucky we are, really, I think.
The reconnaissance role of the Household Cavalry demanded bold advances through enemy lines to report back on their strength and take bridgeheads wherever possible. In the summer of '44, the Allies were bogged down in the treacherous bocage countryside of Normandy. The thick hedges, narrow lanes and small fields were perfect defensive country and a death trap for armoured vehicles. Johnny and regimental historian Barney White Spunner are retracing the exact route his troop made through German lines. They found a bridge that the regiment took and held with only 2 armoured cars. It led to a crucial breakout, punching through enemy lines.
Feeling great elation, knowing that we could break out and be free of this bocage country, which was a nightmare.
This was the spearhead of the Allied advance out of Normandy, a critical 2-month battle that left 2 German army groups destroyed and helped open the road to Berlin. Within a matter of weeks, Johnny's troop was in Belgium.
So what did it feel like driving into Brussels then, Johnny? It
was fantastic. And I picked up the what I thought was the intercom, and I said to my driver, I said, "Nobby, it's about time we broke down." And unfortunately, it went straight through to the adjutant. That was the end of that little sojourn. Yeah. And the telephones were working. Rang up my mother, much to her surprise.
Yeah, but she was quite surprised.
Yes, yeah.
Quite thankful as well, I suppose.
Well, yes, I hope so.
The Household Cavalry has continued to be at the forefront of most military operations over the last 50 years. "59 years on from Normandy, during the last Gulf War, D Squadron led the advance on Basra, probing ahead of the main British front. During this action, scimitar driver Christopher Finney was to save the life of his gunner in a friendly fire incident. Finney won the George Cross.
That day, we all had a bit of a sort of a sixth sense feeling that something wrong was going to happen.
We'd heard firing. We thought it was a Iraqi anti-aircraft gun. Continued to move at a very slow pace, up 2-3 miles an hour, at which point I heard a loud bang in the vehicle. Sparks sort of everywhere, just surrounding me. It was basically a wall of flame behind us there. So I weighed up the situation and thought, well, it's not really worth sitting in here with all this ammunition here, just waiting to go off. So I jumped out, jumped off the front, at which point I looked up and noticed my gunner was sort of attempting to get out of the turret, obviously injured. So then I took him down onto the floor, and the plane came back around again, and this was the first I knew of it being a plane, let alone an American plane. Everything sort of went into slow motion. The A-10 fires extremely fast, and they were just hitting the ground sort of one by one, and you could see it all happening. So I went to drag away the injured gunner around the front of the vehicle to try and get him to safety. I felt something warm and wet down the back of my leg to find I'd had shrapnel wounds in my right calf. It wasn't too bad, so I thought I'll be all right with that. But then I felt it on the back of my left thigh, at which point I turned around and I'd also received a shrapnel wound to my left buttock.
Medevaced from the battlefield, he'd saved one man's life, been wounded, tried to save another man in a blazing scimitar, and found time to radio in a report. It took him 6 weeks to recover from his physical wounds. In Knightsbridge, the 12 trainee troopers prepare to ride out in the full ceremonial kit for the first time. Jackboots, gloves, gauntlets and armour leave little contact or feeling between horse and rider. And it's one of the warmest days of the year. Trooper Mike Kiwi Hookham is feeling the heat.
No way. I was sweating yesterday, so it's twice as hot today as it was yesterday. Hot, sweaty, anxious as well, because the boots are solid. You don't know if you actually got contact with the horse or not. When you do squeeze, you squeeze too hard, the horse is just gone. Tagcaster, the mighty dozer. When it comes to feed time, my God, he near kicks the doors and walls and...
It's the end of a long journey for these trainee troopers and their mentor, Lance Corporal of Horse Lee Golder.
At the end of the day, this is their bread and butter. Once they pass out, this is what they'll be wearing on Queen's Lifeguard, on the escorts. So the sooner they learn to accept the way that they have to ride in the kit and how uncomfortable and awkward it is, the easier it's going to be for them.
This morning, Captain James St. John Price takes the inspection.
Morning, sir.
He's an expert on dress and a stickler for detail.
Trooper Hookham riding Tagcaster, sir.
This is the first time they've been inspected in full ceremonial uniform.
Some of the hairs have been pushed back to reveal the plume ball. Crest strap is fine.
Hookham has set a good example.
Look after it a bit. Well done. What a good start to kit ride. Coming up to you.
But laid-back Adrian Van Loon is next.
You can't really see yourself, but there's a large patch here. Once you're in the kit, you've got to learn to be very aware that touching anything will make it dirty.
Adrian Van Loon has constantly frustrated the corporals over the standard of his kit.
I don't want head shaking, bottom lip hitting the floor. If you've got a problem, you knock on the door and we sort it out. Don't stand out here shaking your head like a little girl.
Then he met his match with the riding master, Captain Dickie Waygood.
Horse's dock is dirty. Your blanket's not folded correctly. You're not up to the standard required. I'll see you again tomorrow morning. If you're not good enough then, young man, you'll be back ridden. Do you understand?
Yes, sir!
Thank you.
He just seems to lack the essential gene needed to make a guardsman gleam.
If you look at it closely, look at that stopping clean correctly. Can you see the rust?
Yes, sir.
That'll get you charged on Queen's Lifeguard, okay? From now on it gets a lot harder, okay?
Yes, sir.
To ride in full state kit requires considerable horsemanship. Troopers have to hold all 4 reins in one gauntleted hand. The other is for their swords.
They're a good bunch of lads. I mean, I've taken sort of nearly 3 rides now. And you do get to know them over a period of time. And it's probably, without sounding cheesy, but it's the best ride I've had, best group of lads. And they work together, they help each other, and it's just pure teamwork. and it's very rarely you find a ride like that.
In less than a week's time, their families and friends will travel to Knightsbridge to witness their passing out. With the ceremonial season drawing to an end, many of the horses and men have moved to Norfolk for their annual summer camp. The poor weather doesn't stop the horses washing off the grime of London with a traditional canter in the surf. It's also a quiet time for the Armoured Regiment in Windsor. For those not on exercise, vehicle maintenance and weapons drills are the order of the day. But this busy, ordinary summer day in 2005 is about to be shattered.
Can you move away from this road, please? Thank you.
The terrorists will not succeed. The perpetrators of today's attacks are intent on destroying human life.
With the mounted regiment situated in the heart of the city, a squadron is placed on full alert. Swords and cuirasses are put away for assault rifles and body armour.
It's another good example of us primarily being soldiers. And although we're here carrying out ceremonial duties, we also have a military security function, particularly post 9/11.
Major Mark Goodwin Hudson addresses his team.
Just to give an update on the situation so far, there have been tube instances on the tube as well as on a bus. The indication is that these are suicide bombers, and the instigators of this are Al-Qaeda. Now, in terms of what that means for us, is that we are still at the moment waiting to be deployed. They have not decided yet to call in the military. This has been handled by the civil agencies, by the police and the rescue services. We've got over 144 men ready to be deployed, and London District know that. So if a military call-out happens, it will most likely be us.
The Household Cavalry have historically held a civil defence role. Traditionally, the lifeguards were responsible for riot control in London. Reading the Riot Act comes from the text magistrates used to read out to angry mobs before the troopers were sent in. This role has remained ever since. In February 2003, it was the Household Cavalry's Armoured Regiment who scrambled to Heathrow Airport in a remarkable display of home defence during peacetime. On July the 7th, 2005, the emergency services are getting the situation under control, and the government are wary of panicking the public by putting the army on the streets. The squadron is stood down. Amid the tightest of security, it's decided that the National Commemoration Day celebrations should go ahead. The bombings of the previous week failed to stop hundreds of thousands flocking to London to mark the end of the Second World War. The combined bands of the Lifeguards and the Blues and Royals warm up before the parade. All these band horses are veteran performers, picked because of their experience, docile temperaments, and probable deafness, like 20-year-old Quarry.
He stands his ground. He knows the score now. He's done it many times. He's a good horse. I'll have to find another one when he goes.
Farrier Neil Sherlock is giving Cornet a last-minute brush-up.
10 minutes with your horse if you've got a nice horse. If you haven't, it could be the worst 10 minutes of your life. But he's all right. He's like a big dog, really.
In the stables, the saddles go on for the final parade of the season. 21-year-old Gulf War veteran Trooper Christopher Finney is also taking part, but as a guest of honour.
going along. I think there's 8 Victoria Cross or George Cross winners going along with the Queen to watch the show. Not that many people get to go along with the Queen to watch the sort of thing, so it should be good.
Since he received his George Cross, he's been a regular at palace occasions.
I think she actually knows my name now. Today is 6th or 7th time I've seen her. It's just a bit of a shame this one's on a Sunday. Normally I get a day off work to come along to it.
The George Cross is equal to the Victoria Cross, but the VC can only be awarded for courage in the face of the enemy. Finney's actions involve not the enemy, but the Americans, or friendly fire.
You can't drink natural water.
The household cavalry mount up and leave for Buckingham Palace. Chris Finney takes a back seat in a busload of Victoria and George Cross winners from World War II to the Gulf. On television, millions watch the household cavalry escort the Queen down the Mall. A Lancaster bomber drops 1 million poppies on the Mall to commemorate the country's dead in all wars. This morning, the riding school graduates.
Position 1.
Expectant families gather in the parade ground to witness the trainee troopers' transition into fully fledged household cavalrymen. Mike Hookham's mum and dad have travelled all the way from New Zealand. Mike's infectious Kiwi humour has never let the ride down.
He did want to be in the Paris, but he's found his niche. He's done well.
It's been almost 3 years in the waiting. Yeah, very much looking forward to this. Quietly in my own way, I'm trying not to flap, but yeah.
Seem very relaxed.
On the outside I'm relaxed, on the inside, oh man.
Nobody has found it harder than Trooper Adrian Van Loon.
Grab a duster.
He has made it to pass out.
I've had my ups and downs, and I have my very down point in khaki ride when I was just not coming together. I don't enjoy it, but I'm not on the phase that I really want to stop this and quit. I'll crack on with the 4 years, and then after the 4 years, see what happens.
It's Trooper Glenn Forrest who has come the furthest in the last 16 weeks.
Who did it for you? An idiot like me has made it through riding school, has made it through kit ride, and somehow wangled through his way through the system to ruin Knightsbridge.
First of all, Forrest couldn't get on.
Go on, get up there. Come to them, Forrest, kick the bloody thing!
Then he couldn't stay on. He's certainly impressed Lance Corporal of Horse Mark Jaworski.
He just threw all his negative energy into, right, I'm going to do it. And he ended up being one of the best, which is a huge shock to me.
But the one thing he has always managed is to take his fences in his own style.
Horace, you've got to come to the centre of the fence, young man, yeah?
The 16-week transformation is about to be revealed to their nearest and dearest for the first time. Lance Corporal of Horse Lee Golder takes his men into the riding school for the last time. Golder's been their mentor and father figure for the last 4 months. And now it's time to show off his charges to their parents. Trooper Bobby Baker takes the salute for the lifeguard in front of his mum.
I'm immensely proud of him. Yeah, I think he's certainly achieved quite a lot.
Less than 4 months ago, this inner-city kid didn't know one end of a saddle from another.
OK, so reassess the saddle situation. Is that the right way round?
But it was cantankerous old Quarry who soon had him licked into shape.
I don't think the horse likes me.
He looks like a man.
Yeah.
All grown up. You consider that he's not even 18 yet. Baby.
Start a meal, yeah.
Parents, we do embarrass ourselves, don't we?
Too many flies in this place.
Return! Towards!
Hyde Park's Rotten Row is probably the most exclusive riding track in the world. The highlight of the pass-out parade is to canter in formation past their parents.
Eyes! Right!
Trooper Liam Wakefield's parents have travelled down from Wakefield. Liam's lowest point was when Vagabond took him for an unplanned swim in a Somerset ditch.
What's going to happen today? Right.
This is something that I've wanted to do for absolutely years.
His high point was his first ceremonial job in front of the Queen.
Oh, fantastic. It feels as though you're watching it on TV. Ooh, no. Ooh, no. Ooh, no.
From now on, he is qualified to parade on horseback.
It's really good. And it's come this far now, like, just unbelievable. You know, he's had his ups and downs, like, but he's stuck at it, and it's come through fantastic. Yeah, I mean, words can't explain how I feel today. It's just great.
That's it, nice and quietly, well done.
Trooper Glenn Forrest's mum and dad are frankly amazed.
Never in a million years would I thought he'd do what he's done. So proud. It's making a man of him. He did want to be a tank driver, but I think now he's got with the horses and he's settled with the horses. It's made him. It's like, I'm a man now, Mum, I've grown up, but no, he's not. He's still my baby.
It makes a big difference with the parents being there. They really do want to, look really good in front of their parents, so they try that a little bit harder. They really performed today. They really have. The drills are the best they've ever done. It sounds corny to say it on the day of the pass out, but it is. So really chuffed with them. To see them now pass out and do what they do, it's a good feeling for me to know that I've done my job and they can do their job to a good standard.
Trooper Glenn Forrest is currently serving on the Queen's Lifeguard. Mike Hookham is tipped as a future NCO. Bobby Baker continues to impress his extended family. And Trooper Adrian Van Loon has conquered his kit and settled into life in the Lifeguards.